Good morning. Happy Friday. Looks like the boys are in charge today, Dan.
That's
Show mom
right.
is out. Show mom is out.
Yep, some summer fun here. Ending another wild week, Sean. So much for a slow August here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like there's no slow.
Yes.
Although just for you, and if you're not watching on YouTube, if you're watching, listening to the audio, you don't know that I'm not wearing blue today.
Yeah.
Rachel is out, but she bet me that I would wear anything but blue, so I went full pink.
Yeah, I like
So,
it. Real
yeah,
men
and
wear
you're
it.
a lighter color too. I think,
I,
she
I
should
got
be
green
proud.
on. Yeah, yeah. Look at us. We look like a Lily Pulitzer ad here, pink and
I'm
green.
not sure
Uh,
we fully
yeah,
qualify for that, but
yeah.
I'll give you that. Look,
I
we're
will
81
say,
days.
Sean, you look very tan. The pink brings out the hues in your face. I mean,
Well,
this may be a color you need to work in a little more.
well, I appreciate that, but as an Irishman that uses my one skin, we'll get to that in a little bit.
Okay.
It is all just uh, a
Smoke
red.
and mirrors.
So
That's all it
smoke and
is.
mirror. Yeah, it's makeup, and it's the one
Okay.
skin with the tint. In any case, we're 81 days out from the election. The DNC meeting is underway in Austin, Texas today. Dan, I got to tell you a quick little. There's a bunch of stories about how everybody's rallying around Ken Martin.
Yep.
He seemed to do what we've been saying for a while. Terry McAuliffe, Jamie Harrison,
Yep.
the former chair, all down there. I don't know if this was everyone at the DNC listening to the huddle, but it seems like they got the message.
Yeah, no, I think at this point, it is what it is. I think they're going to approve the new calendar here, or barring something crazy. And that'll be something that, it's a low bar, but it's an accomplishment. He can point to it, kind of try to move the party forward. And obviously, Sean, nothing helps like leading in the polls. We're going to get to that. But the sense that things are going well for heading into November definitely helps his cause.
Yeah. All right. Aside from that, President Trump has a policy meeting at 11, and he is signing time at 12. I'm sure that's before lunch.
Yeah.
And then he departs the White House en route to Garden City, New
Yep.
York. He's got remarks at the Training and Intelligence Center there. So I think this is going to be a law enforcement kind of day for the president. And then once he wraps that off, just a quick little, probably a helicopter ride over to
Yeah.
Bedminster where he'll spend the weekend. So,
Yeah, and Sean, we haven't talked much about it, but the crime figures continue to go down nationwide. It did start declining under Biden, but it's accelerated, and Trump, is, I think, going to try to speak to it here in New York. Not a huge, thing yet, but Kathy Hochul, two polls have come out, leads by 10 points. Bruce Blakeman. That's not huge,
no,
right?
Blakeman
And
had one showing him as close as like 4 or 5 too. I mean,
yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. Trump's up here. He's going to speak on crime, obviously in the wheelhouse for the party, but an
the
interesting
one
thing
thing
to
about
watch.
this issue is this is the classic dog caught the car issue for the party and for President Trump. Very successful on crime and immigration, getting those numbers down. And I
Yep,
think it's almost like a pocket veto where people say, okay,
yep,
it's hard to remind people when you go into election. Remember when it was open borders and crazy? And so voters are always, what have you done for me lately?
yep,
And this is an issue that he solved. I mean,
yep.
both immigration, border security, and crime in these big cities. And the other thing is, Dan, the crime in the big cities is in blue areas. And I don't think Democrats are like, hey, thanks, President Trump. So the funny part about it is for people who don't live in a big city, who are more Trump oriented voters, he's not getting credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's still crime, but yes, I agree. Crime going down is always a good thing. So all right, so today on the show we are going to talk about our friends at Fox News put out a series of Senate polls here. We're going to kind of go over those. I've got a few questions here for Sean. Second, we haven't talked about this yet, Sean. Florida has a primary on Tuesday. Some interesting stuff out there, particularly on that governor's race. Get your take. Also, the South Carolina special is a week from Tuesday, so we'll talk about that. Hakeem Jeffrey, Sean, had a very interesting set of remarks that he gave talking about the Supreme Court. I am not sure this is going to be very helpful to our party, probably helpful to you guys. So we'll talk about that. For the USS Abraham Lincoln, it's been in the news here a little bit, and Secretary Hegseth had something to say last night or yesterday evening about it. So did the military. So we'll talk about that. And then Friday, as we always do, winners, losers, and what to watch for. So again, just another kind of wild week. But before we get to that, Sean, let's start. It's the weekend. It's Friday, which means I'm thinking about what am I going to barbecue this weekend. And so the first thing that I should be thinking about, because usually that involves red meat, it doesn't always have to be, is our friends at Omaha Steaks. We're not where we usually are. Sean's in Newport. We're out on Eastern Long Island. So sometimes when you're traveling in different places, Sean, you don't know where to get good products. But with Omaha Steaks, you don't have to worry about that. You just
Well, I actually carried them with me.
oh well, there you go. You can just order it. It's
I
freshly
packed it and brought
sealed.
it from Virginia.
Oh, I like. Do you do a cooler in the car like RFK when he's traveling? Do you?
No sauerkraut. No,
Oh,
I
okay.
just
All right.
I had they were frozen, as you know. You've talked
Yep.
about this before. They come frozen, and so I made sure they were hard as a rock. I wrapped them in some tin foil because it was just I just brought a couple. I brought one, and this is what Rachel mentioned. They're individually packed.
Yep.
At least the steaks are, and the burgers you can do the same thing with, which was perfect. So I
Yep.
ripped them a piece, brought exactly what I wanted. It was all about me.
Yep.
So yeah,
Well,
travel.
that's it. And of course, Rachel likes to talk about the pork chops because again, it's not just red meat. They also have chicken. Get it delivered right to your door. Again, Sean said it's sealed. It stays fresh. And then you just take it out and thaw it, and off you go. But we all love using Omaha Steaks, and the quality it's dependable. It's terrific. So go to omahasteaks.com. Use our code Huddle. Go to omahasteaks.com and use our code Huddle, and you'll get $35 off at checkout. That is a great deal.
It's a great deal.
And yeah, speaking of money, Monarch Money. Yeah, we talk about financial literacy, talk about trying to make sure that you're efficient with your spending, that you don't get out over your skis, that you can plan ahead for maybe you want to order a lot of Omaha Steaks because you have a big Labor Day party going up. So, all right, what do I need to cut back on? What do I need to do? Go to monarch.com, download the app. One of the best features of this is it has an AI agent that can help you plan. It can kind of anticipate what may be coming down the line, kind of some patterns that might be developing that you're not quite aware of. Life is busy. You're not always paying attention to all of this stuff. But I think as everyone experienced at some point in their life, those little things can start to add up. And suddenly you're like, Rutro, I spent a little more maybe than I wanted to on Frappuccinos, or maybe you bought one too many hot dogs because you were just a little hungry. So go to monarch.com and use our code Huddle, and you get the first year of Monarch's core half off for just $50. It's a great deal. Go to monarch.com. All right, Sean.
All right, let's get into it.
Yeah, let's jump into this. All right. Again, we love our friends at Fox News, put out a series of polls here. Let's pull up the first element here. It just we'll read through right off the top. If you're this is the state of Michigan. Well, okay, here we go. All right. So in Georgia, John Ossoff up 13 points. Don't quite know if it's 13, but he's, I think, Sean, pretty clearly up outside the margin of error. North Carolina, Roy Cooper up 9. Again, perhaps a little high, but he's definitely up. Sherrod Brown up 8. Josh Turek in Iowa up 4. James Tallarico in Texas up 3. And Ronnie Jackson in Maine up 2.
Troy Jackson.
Sorry, Troy Jackson.
Ronnie's in Texas. He's doing just fine.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. So look, obviously, Sean, part of politics is perception. It's momentum. It feeds, volunteers showing up. People want to be with a winner. Donors want to write checks. We talked about the Republican money advantage. This helps both with the individual campaigns and on the outside. Companies and others might start thinking we need to hedge a little harder, maybe put a little bit more money on the Democratic soft side. But this comes, Sean, we're 6 weeks out from early voting starting in Georgia. Some other states will start the end of September, early October. So we also have ads going up here, and we mentioned this yesterday. Why don't we just quickly show two? The first one I think is.
Well, wait, can we real quick? Because the one race that's that's on there.
That
That's
yeah
not on there.
is
Is Michigan.
Michigan.
So
Yep.
let's just because those are all blue trending. Let's just show the Michigan one.
Yeah, so Fox put
Um,
out a poll yesterday out of the state of Michigan. It's really the first that I think we've seen. We can pull up that next. You had it as your first element, guys, but we'll bring it back up. Here it is. Oh well, this is the poly market. All right,
yeah, but
the poly market shows that Abdul El Said, folks on poly market, 57% think Abdul El Said will win. Mike Rogers 44. The Fox News poll though has Mike Rogers up. I believe it's 5 points here. I think it's 52 to
yeah,
40, 52 to
which
47. Yeah.
let me just go back if we can to the first element. I want to make a point here that's interesting. So go under if in theory, right now you list those races, right?
Yep.
If you think about they're in descending order
Yep.
for and then you've got Michigan underneath that showing the same Fox News poll shows Mike Rogers in the lead.
Yep.
The irony, Dan, when I looked at this was that I thought to myself, if you had just sort of blindfolded me 5 months ago and say, here are the states in play, rank them
Yep.
from most likely for GOP to take over. You think about that. The two that Republicans are doing the best in, one, Michigan, which is a Dem current, right?
Yep.
And then Maine, which should be in theory. And the irony is the ones that are the most likely demographically to flip are the least likely in this cycle.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia and North Carolina. I mean, I get Iowa, but if you look at that list, if you're watching this right now and you're like, I can't believe, one, where I stand on public polling, that it's just not regardless. But this is Fox again, and just so everyone understands, one thing about polling that's fascinating is people always you can get cheap polling, and that's generally what I believe most public polling is. It's the cheapest. It's the hard because they don't want to spend the money to go through the real hard likely screen because the more likely you make the screen, the more expensive it is because you have to keep calling and calling and calling to get somebody. So you might have to make 15 calls to get one actual likely voter that identifies and is willing to take the 20-minute survey. So the reason that public polling sucks is because most of the time it's just the cheapest. But this is from Fox. And what I would take away from this 81 days out is that you can stick your head in the sand. You can say that whatever. But we did this yesterday when Dan and I went through every state. This is like going to the doctor and getting told, no, you're not dying, but you need to make some lifestyle changes if you want to get better. And I think the message that Republicans are seeing all over the map is that, guys, you got the money, start spending it. You've got the message, start spending it. But sticking your head in the sand is not a strategy. And every time somebody says oh, this is ridiculous, you're being a naysayer. It's like, tell me one positive sign of data that you're seeing that shows we're doing well outside of Michigan, which is great.
Yeah.
But that's because Al Said sucks.
Well, but look, here's the thing that would be encouraging if you're a Democrat. Abdul El Said is trailing because he is not right now. Initially, the moderate Democrats are not with him; they're with Rogers, and so you're encouraged because you say, "All right, we have 81 days to peel back people who don't like Donald Trump, who are fairly, frustrated right now with the kind of federal writ large." That is a better thing than saying, like James Tallarico in Texas, I got to go pull Trump voters, people who are inclined to like Donald Trump, who have historically been Republicans, and come give me a shot again. So you would be encouraged. But Sean, let me ask you this. You look at that map. We're going to talk later here a little bit about Florida and South Carolina and stuff. At what point do Republicans potentially say, we got to cut some people loose and firewall this thing? So John Ossoff's got $90 million, right? Mike Collins has got 10. Okay, the outside groups. We could spend $150 million in Georgia and John Ossoff only wins by 1.5, right? Maybe we hit a triple bank shot and we take him down. He stumbles, whatever. I'm looking at Iowa. I'm looking at potentially Texas. Maybe let's say another state comes on the board, right? Something starts getting tight. And you have the House. Are Republicans nearing the point of saying, guys, it's firewall time?
You're going to get there probably Labor Day. And here's the deal. If you have to pick two houses, remember, I wouldn't. The House impeaches you, it investigates you,
Yep.
but at the end of the day, the Senate is the one that would convict you. It's
Convict.
not going to happen. Okay, neither in any case because you need 60, so it's not going to happen. But they're the ones that get all your nominations through.
Yep.
So if you want to function for the last 2 years, you need that body more than you need the House. And to your point
Yep.
about firewalling, 60 days out, that's when I think you start to cut bait. The problem that I have right now, Dan, to be honest with you, is that we're not lacking for resources, right?
That
That
was my next
field,
question. Yep.
we're sitting around with $400+ million in a super PAC, 120 million at the RNC. And I've never been a huge believer in like go way early, but right now, if you're going to take down either Roy Cooper or Ossoff, you need to, you like, let's just say intensity wise, October, everybody's screaming at each other, scream, 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 scream. So your message, you might be up with 2,000 points on broadcast and a bunch of digital and mail, but everybody's yelling, and it's the congressional districts, boom, 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 boom. If you were going to define somebody, this is your opportunity, July, August, before, right? And right now, we have everybody has sat with their hands in their pockets.
So
And
what?
Ossoff hasn't had a dent a dent in his image, and neither has Cooper. So at some point, to your question, the window is closed. You don't have enough time to actually go through and bash them because they have plenty of money on their own, and they'll wait to the end and just be like, I'm the second coming, and they're not going to sit back. So I just say, like, I've been in cycles where you don't have the resources and you're trying to find the time to maximize everything. That's not the problem now. And I think the one look back on this cycle is going to be like, why did you guys wait?
So Sean, let me ask you this too. There are whispers that some people think that the Trump outside honeypot is not all going to be spent on this midterm.
I think that's a very fair question. Yeah. And I think that there's a frustration. I mean, look, at the end of the day, the president, he knows, I know he knows what the consequences of losing the majority are, but he also recognizes that, like, hey, when I leave office, I would like to have a bunch of political money to be able to stay relevant and play and pay for extraneous things, right? One thing that most presidents do is they kind of go off into the limelight. They've got some nonprofits and stuff that can help pay for but like Trump's not a guy who's going to sit around quietly. He wants an operation. Operations cost money. And so he wants to be able to be a kingmaker even out of office. I do think it's a fair question. How much are they going to spend? I can tell you, when I was at the RNC for 3 cycles, everybody looks at your bank account the day after the election. And says, how much did you leave on the table? And it's tough because here's what happens, just so you know. You have to make a budget now, today, for October. And what happens is people, might get excited and give you money like October 15th. Let's say debt's there on the 20th. You deposit. It's too late. And so if you don't spend the money and budget for it early, you can't pay for somebody to knock on a door on October 15th if you don't know you're going to have the money. And so I have a feeling this cycle, there's going to be a lot of finger pointing about who didn't spend money on November 4th or 5th.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting, I think, to watch over the next few weeks. I go back to, 2010. It was Labor Day when Congress returned that Nancy Pelosi called people in one by one and said, we love you, but we got to put money elsewhere. And in 2006, same thing happened where Republicans went and tried to save the Senate. If you recall.
Well, and you remember Dole, it even happened presidentially.
Haley Barbour did it in 96. So anyway,
can we show real quick? You mentioned it.
Out of Michigan. Yep.
Well, no, let's start. Why don't we do Maine? You started to talk about this Troy Jackson new ad that is up. Take a look.
Yeah, it's his first ad. I mean, obviously, we all saw Graham Plattner a lot, and we played an ad from the outside Republican groups for Susan Collins earlier. But so this is the first ad from Jackson. Let's play it.
Fifth generation logger from Allagash. I grew up a poor kid in a town full of poor people, doing everything right and still struggling to get ahead. And it's worse now. People in this country work so damn hard and still feel so damn broke. That's no way to live. Susan Collins keeps telling us that everything's fine, but we know it's not. We all have eyes, paychecks, and bills. We know we're getting screwed. You deserve better. I'm Troy Jackson. I'm running for Senate, and I approve this message.
Yeah.
Good ad.
pretty good ad. Collins is hammering him on how long he's been in government. You notice no mention of his experience. Kind of bragging about it. No mention of deliverables. Just I'm a regular person,
Well,
and it's time for a change. Just keep it simple, stupid.
right.
Sean,
Well, also, like, I don't want to
good ad.
be like normally in a different cycle, it'd be like, I've got experience. I've got this. He's like,
Yep.
what are you talking about? I've never
Yeah.
done anything. I do find it interesting, by the way, as a New Englander, he sounds more like a Canadian or Minnesotan than he does.
Ooh.
I mean, not that. And by the way, he's
And that's
no
an insult, ladies
carpetbagger.
and gentlemen.
I think he's no, but he's a fifth generation. I think fifth
Yep.
generation, fourth
Yep.
generation Mainer. So there's no question. But I just found it interesting because you can tell how north in Maine he's from because
Yep.
he sounds more Maine than Boston.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great flag.
But anyway, I will say this again. Credit where credit is due. It was a good ad. It sort of says basically like, hey, I'm the safe choice. You don't have to vote for her. But on the flip side, Dan, the one race that we're doing better than ever is a reminder as to why, because this is it just resurfaced. So just to be clear, this was an ad that El Said put out in Michigan ahead of the primary. And I don't know why it didn't get attention then, but oh my God, like he publicly put this out. And I mean, this seems like an ad that someone says, if you lose this bet, you have to put out an ad that looks like this. Let's play it.
Wanna wag my tail when it comes, I wanna wail. Thanks, mailbox. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. I wonder who it's from. Oh, it looks like my ballot. Brought to me by my Secretary of State.
All right. I don't know
And
that we
with
need
it,
to waste
I
any
can
more time
participate
watching
in
this.
democracy.
But I thought this when I talked about this in my show last night. Dan, I'll ask you this because I got it wrong, admittedly.
Yeah.
Do you know what show this is modeled after?
Not Mr. Rogers. Yeah. Oh, God.
No, don't
No.
Google.
No, I'm not.
No
I'm thinking
AI.
about that jingle. I was trying to think about this. What is it? Don't remember.
Okay. I'll tell you what I thought.
Yeah.
The Wiggles.
Okay.
It's
Pretty good
not.
one. Okay.
It's not. It's called Blues Clues.
That's it. I knew I've heard
did you?
that. Well, I've heard that jingle before.
Everybody in the chat is getting it. I feel old now.
Yeah.
Everyone in the
old.
chat, it's one after another. They're like,
it's not news though.
But the funny part is so apparently I had this discussion with the panel last night. Apparently my kids were missed it. And then I was too old because this was sort of I don't know. But anyway, the thing about it is, and we talked about it on the panel last night, is like the way that a lot of people apparently saw this on the left is that it was insulting. It's like, you think we're too stupid to know how to vote? Like I actually thought that it was very Mondami, but like to try to, but I thought it was, anyway, I kind of was like, this is why you look weird. You look
well. It is. Look, it is in the era of social media and breaking through. It is kind of catchy and hokey. And
yeah, but when you break through because people are like, you're weird, that's not good.
So that's the one kind of caveat, which is if you're trying to be seen as a kind of strong, leader that's going to be sitting in Washington, D.C. fighting for our state, that does look a little juvenile to be in. I mean, look, we'll get to what to watch for. I'll tease a little bit. It's going to involve Abdul El-Sayed. So, but it is a weird ad, and he's got problems.
Well, this is why this is the one area, because I'll remind people of one of my constant go-tos: mechanics and candidates matter, and we shouldn't be winning in Michigan.
Yep.
We're winning because he's bad. And
correct.
He's running. This is why, Graham Plattner, like when you look at these races one by one, and this is why I always say, like, people who just dismiss, like history says, need to look at mechanics and candidates, because district by district in close cycles, it matters. And this is one of them. By the way, Kendall in the chat, she said she's older than me and still got the Blues Clues reference. So I apologize that I don't watch enough of children's television.
You got to watch more cable TV, pal.
But Dan, let's flip this discussion to two other states, Florida and South Carolina. Let's start with South Carolina, if I can. The clarion call has gone out from the establishment. Everybody is closing ranks behind Darlene Graham, making it very clear that we need to get behind her, support her in this runoff. I'm not sure that that's the right. I get that they have to do it, right? But it's almost like in this political environment, the more you tell someone to do something and to get behind someone, the more resistance on either side of the aisle that you're going to face. It's like right now I want whatever is not the establishment choice, whatever that is, that's what I want. And trying to push people to get behind Darlene Graham as the pick doesn't seem to be maybe the message you want to be pushing.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because I do wonder, given that state's role in the GOP's presidential selection history and its prominence, and I think, Sean, in 16, it was really one of the states where Trump drove the stake in, because he makes the comment about the Iraq war and everyone thinks it's a military state, you're done. He wins it by whatever it was, 40 points, and the rest is history. What happens if she goes down? Obviously, the margin would matter. Is it really close? Is it not? And
does it? I don't think so. I mean, honestly,
you think a loss is a loss, period.
Yeah. Well, I just think that like right now, that's why what I'm saying is, if I were, political guru on the right, I would say we got to do this quietly. We go in with a lot of digital and mail, really ramp her up, hit Northam. Hit Ralph. Ralph Northam. Tie him. I keep reminding of our former Virginia governor. I would really sort of make this a proxy against Nikki Haley in areas where that. I mean, but do it below the radar, because I don't think people want to be told what to do right now. And I know that the political class will chalk this up to a loss. A loss is a loss. Even though, by the way, he is very supportive of President Trump. So this isn't but I think when you put all of your muscle behind anything and say, this is my pick, and you lose, and again, it's not like he's losing. You're not electing some rhino. The guy's a solid conservative. But I think that it will be perceived as a loss for the organization and a sign of weakness, which they can't afford.
Well, because it also goes to Florida here. Sean, you and I have talked a little bit off camera, but the assumption was Byron Donalds, Trump endorsed very early. He's been very confident in his public, interviews and really kind of almost acting as if he is the front runner and likely the next governor. But there are whispers that race is closer than it should be down there. And, if somehow Darlene Graham were to lose in South Carolina, Byron Donalds were to lose in Florida, we just talked about the perception that Democrats have momentum in these Senate races. Where's the money being spent? Sean, Susie Wiles is perhaps the most sophisticated political, animal there is, always looking down the line, has run races in Florida, totally gets all of this. I'm wondering, what do you do if you're the White House over August here? Because you're in the danger zone of hitting Labor Day with the party saying, oh, my God.
Well, look, I think there's a couple things. Let me just start with the polling part. Florida is very hot in the summer. Who are the kid voters? I mean, Florida's very MAGA, right? But it's also very hot in the summer. And so a lot of the residents of Florida decamp to places like Rhode Island, where they used to be residents, all over the place. And so they are. The reason I bring this up is that you have an August primary. Yep. It's a slow month. You have a lot of people who are your voters you would have to get them to vote absentee. Yep. And so your GOTV effort has got to be very robust. Now, that somewhat benefits Byron Donalds because they have a much better and bigger operation. But this goes back to the whole polling piece. How do you guarantee? I mean, you got to get somebody to request the ballot. You got to get them to return the ballot. That's a much more sophisticated operation. And you've got to have what they call ballot chase, which is to make sure that someone's calling and saying, hey, Mr. Smith, did you get your ballot? Have you filled it out? Are you mailing it back? Mrs. Smith with you? She got her ballot? Good. But that's a big, big part of this. If you're Florida, if you're running in an August primary for the Republican nomination, James Fishback is a very interesting candidate. He's got a lot of money and he's making this appeal that he is truly this outsider and he's a Trump supporter again. So again, I think that the backlash to Byron is that he was in the state house. He has been in the member Congress, even though he is a hardcore Trump supporter. His wife is America First all the way,
Yeah.
leading efforts on education reform. But people right now don't care. They just want somebody who's not part of the political class. So I agree with you. I think this is worth watching. I also think it'll be interesting. There's a couple primaries of incumbents.
Yep.
Corey Mills is one. There's another in the fifth. Anyway, and then there's a couple open seats. Byron Donald's seat is one. There's a couple others. The Buchanan seat is open, and ironically, in one seat, I think it's the 19th. There's literally like 3 or 4 members of or people who ran in other districts
now there
or were members of Congress. Madison Cawthorn, Chris from New York. Collins,
yeah.
Who it was one of the Trump early endorsers. I mean, but like it's so fascinating. So I think we're going to have watch this on Tuesday and then Wednesday how this thing comes out. But I do think that like it's flown under the radar as a political topic.
Yeah, no, it has. And of course, on the Democratic side, we talked about this a few months ago. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, this new kind of redrawn district. She's gone into it. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is white and Jewish. It is a heavily black district. She is likely to win. That is going to be so fascinating, Sean, to watch in 2028 if she is primaried. She will be primaried.
100. But also, Dan, I mean, I brought this up when the ruling came down, right? If she wins and she's got a lot of name ID, it's part of her old district. I think there's 5 black candidates running on the Dem side. So that because of lack of consolidation, she will win this with a plurality. And luckily for her, Florida is one of these states that you don't go to a runoff. So that will be interesting to have. Again, you have a majority minority district,
correct,
without a black representation. And by the way, a former head of the DNC. I mean, like this goes back to this whole idea of if your party really thinks this is so valuable, step aside.
Well, and of course, she's also, Broward County, longtime home of a lot of Jewish Democrats. They are leaving the party a little bit. So there's a lot of different dynamics there.
Broward, by the way, I'm fascinated by the trend in Broward. I mean, it's definitely the lagging indicator in Florida. It's the last, but it is trending in the right way.
Yeah. I mean, look, Miami-Dade, it's going to be interesting to watch this November what the margins are in those areas. DeSantis in 22 ran up huge margins down there. And then Trump obviously winning down there as well. Be curious to see if there's any movement back, but stay tuned. But let's do one more here, and then we'll do some other ads. But so Hakeem Jeffries yesterday, Sean, raised some eyebrows. Kamala Harris a few weeks ago talked about needing to look at reforming the Supreme Court. Hakeem Jeffries in a big speech leaned into this. And my first is saying that we need to, the Supreme Court is basically owned by Donald Trump. They do his bidding. We need to, fix this. My first thought was I could have seen this either like after the election to like shore up his left flank, kind of like going into the speaker's election saying like, oh, I'm with you, or a year ago when he was a little more in danger. But in August, we always talk about who is more extreme. Is it going to be Donald Trump over Iran and Minneapolis, or is it going to be us on socialism, communism, and redoing the court? I have to imagine at the DCCC, they are not loving this because our base is fired up. Like but headlines. This gives Republicans a chance at a town hall to say, see how crazy they are?
Yeah, but you know what? I got to tell you, I'll disagree with you on this one because I think your side, like this is where we talk about like the SAVE Act and stuff. Like to me, this is a gimme. Like if you're a Republican and can't support the SAVE Act, bye-bye. Like I just don't have, like, to me, this is a no-brainer. I think, and I also, this is where you and I have disagreed in the past. Like, I don't know how this hurts you to go around and say, I believe you need a voter ID. It's an 80-20 issue at best. I mean, at worst. For you guys to say, it's already baked in. We're already accusing you of packing the court. We already think that that's going to happen. And so for Hakeem Jeffries just to say it, I don't know that we get anything additionally. Though he gets to say, see, I'm with you. And he gets to fire them up. I actually, from a political standpoint, I think it was probably smart that he did it. I think we already were going to hit
Really?
you guys. Oh, well, here's the point. We were going to say that anyway. So why not at least get credit for it? Like,
Because our base is already at 11. Like,
I know,
there's
but
no
there's
need
a
to amp
question.
us
But
up
again,
anymore.
remember the through line here. They all think that the establishment, Washington, and both parties is against them. So if Hakeem Jeffries can say, "I'm with you on the court. I'm with you in the court. Don't hate me that much," I think it helps him as the leader when people are getting asked all over, "Do you support the current leader?" And so my only thing on this is, I actually think this was there's no loss for him to say it. He gets to take credit with the base. And I don't think we're going to do. We were already going to do it. Number one. Number two is I actually don't think it's that potent of an issue with like no one is voting on the court this year.
Well,
right?
but see, that's the thing. Like, our base is at 11. Your base is not as energized. So I get the SAVE Act. But the problem that I would have is we're winning because our base is at 11 and the middle is with us 2 and 3 to 1. Right. So the reason we're competitive in Iowa and Texas and some, and House races are kind of off the board a little bit is because the middle is so overwhelmingly with us. And I think when you start talking about stuff that, as you said, nobody cares about this. No swing voters walking down the street saying, "God, Supreme Court better be."
Well, also, can I just say this? Here's
That's
the
where
thing
I
that
get nervous.
But
It's an
the
unforced
thing that
error, in my
just
opinion.
and again, so politically, like I said, I don't.
Yeah.
Whatever. What I find substantively ridiculous is
And there's that too.
when you guys had a ideological control of the court, this wasn't an issue.
It was great.
When there are retirements and they are constitutionally replaced, somehow the courts. So here's my question. I think this is where Republicans should just say, screw it. You know what? Democrats say to pack the court. We agree with them and use the lame duck section to pack the court.
Do it.
Why are we are so I go, this is where we should just steal the issue from. We had Kamala Harris the other day talking about DC and Puerto Rico as a state. This is a pet issue for me. We should get ahead of this. Give DC back to Maryland, same way that we did it with Virginia. We sit around acting like we're helpless on this. Same thing with the filibuster. We're always waiting to go, wow, they screwed us. Why aren't we ahead of the curve? Give DC back to Maryland, except the federal district. I mean, federal part, like the mall, the Washington, the Congress, Supreme Court, White House, carve it out, give it back to Maryland, take the talking point away and take the threat of 2 future U.S. senators away. I think that's we just sit around and wait for the train to hit us and go, wow, we could have done something. We didn't.
Yeah.
And this one I love because no one's asking them saying, well, if it's good enough to pack the court to expand it, why shouldn't Republicans do it today?
Yeah, if our friend Stephen Chung is watching, he should have the fire up truth. Trump should troll Democrats that he would like to pack the court by Labor Day. Call John Thune back.
Right. Which, can you imagine what John Thune would say on that? Like, we don't have the votes for that
exactly.
either.
It'd be nuts. Before we go, because we've got to do this, can we bring up just we talk about Maine and how close it is, the poly market here as this is settling down. Let's just so fascinating, Sean. 70% think Troy Jackson over Susan Collins. You and Rachel have flagged, and you are right. Her history is to overperform. So on the one hand, you could say 2 points. Boy, this is Charlie Brown with the football here. We are, we've seen this. On the other hand, is this, finally the time that she goes down? But interesting on poly markets, 70%. And then let's just quickly also show Georgia. We talked about John Ossoff. Should they pull it out? 90, Sean, if you had said to me in March of 2025, a Democrat in Georgia, a senator, is 93% at close to Labor Day of 2026, I'd have given you pretty good odds on that one. Amazing. 7.8% think Mike Collins will win. We got to keep watching this, but follow the money, as they say. Poly markets, it's really interesting what's going on. So
but that's why I thought when we popped it up at the beginning, it was so fascinating that the idea that it's we're not even like at 60, people have basically pocketed this one and said, we're not even going to play in Georgia. And to your point, at some point, I get that's a poly market, but it's people are putting their money where what they believe makes sense. And I think that that's not far away from where the political establishment is saying we're not putting good money after bad.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Before we hit the other topic though, I will tell you, Dan,
because you look good.
This is thank you. Well, this is actually what happened yesterday, and I'm not kidding. I'm doing an interview, and someone joked because we were talking about the White House press secretary and how it takes so much out of you, and they said, "Well, you look like you're rejuvenated," and I said, "Well, it's not just not holding the job; it's
Took a few
because
years.
I'm using my OneSkin every day,
Right.
and I used it again this morning." This stuff, literally, no matter whether you are the White House press secretary, maybe that's what I should tell whoever replaces Caroline. If you want to maintain that youthful look, get rid of those zombie cells. Take the OneSkin. It's got a proprietary OS1 peptide that will keep you looking young. Maybe that's the key for the next press secretary. I'm going to bring them some OneSkin and say, this is the key. Use the peptide. Get rid of the zombie cells. Keep yourself looking refreshed and young. And the cool part is if you're going to be out in the sun, now I know that job doesn't get a lot of time outdoors, but then it's got the SPF version. It's got the tint. If you do need a little color in you before you go out and do a briefing, and if you go to use our code, go to oneskin.co, not .com, oneskin.co /huddle. You got to use it just like that. And then use code huddle. You get 15% off. I'm telling you, you will see a difference. I love the fact that it's light. It doesn't smell like it doesn't come on heavy or cake. And so anyway, go to oneskin.co /huddle, use our code huddle.
I mean, the way the Trump operation is, it's only a matter of time before you get, prominent people taking endorsement deals, Sean. So the next press secretary, OneSkin, maybe
right. And I'll tell you this, here's the deal.
Yeah,
when you get home from a job like this, that's the other thing. You're exhausted every day, and there's nothing better than getting into a pair of Cozy Earth pajamas.
The best
you just
feeling.
want, right? Or you don't get that downtime. You get home, but maybe you have a few hours. You got to catch up. You want to read, slide into a pair of joggers, and then put that eye mask on. And I'm going to tell you another pro tip. Whoever the future press secretary is, get yourself again, maybe I'm just going to put a gift basket together, because I'll get a Cozy Earth eye mask for Air Force One.
Yep.
You just sit there in the seats. You need to get the sleep. The president goes. You need to get it. So I'm going to get them a Cozy Earth eye mask. Bring it over, drop it off to the next press secretary, because you can wear it, all the clothes on the plane. Again, when you get on to Air Force One, you change. If it's on one of those flights to China or to Europe, you put on something cozy. Cozy Earth joggers are the thing to try. That might be the new endorsement for Air Force One. Get on, switch over. So go to CozyEarth.com. Use our code HUDDLE. You get 20% off. That's why you should never feel like you should just stop. When you're filling that cart up, go, go, go. Rachel always talks about the bundles. There's so much great stuff. Go to CozyEarth.com. Use our code HUDDLE for 20% off.
Sean, quick question. When you get home and long day exhausted, you put on what?
Shorts and T-shirt.
Yeah, okay. I go pajama bottoms and a T-shirt. That's my.
If I spend most of my life in shorts and a T-shirt, or when it gets colder, joggers.
Celeste and I used to argue whether you could put pajamas on when it's still light out. I am on yes, you absolutely can. I don't care. So what if people see it? All right, let's go hear this next story. The USS Abraham Lincoln. Obviously, Sean, for our friends in the military, between the buildup for Venezuela at the kind of last fall, like kind of October, November, and then obviously we executed in January. And then pretty quickly, they started amassing out in around Iran. And then we've obviously been involved there. So this story appeared, I think, yesterday or Wednesday about the USS Abraham Lincoln having been at sea now, I think, for a record deployment. I think it's almost a year now that they've been.
It's over 250.
Yeah, that they have been overseas. And some complaints have been alleged of people having trouble getting their mail, what is it, like some plumbing issues, and some parents apparently have complained, because I presume they're communicating with their children in some capacity. And so you had Richard Blumenthal send a public letter, because of course it's politics, to kind of highlight these rising questions. And you had the Secretary of Defense came out kind of in defense of these soldiers and thanking them for their service. And then CENTCOM put a statement out, because there was some rumors that soldiers had died. Sailors, had died at sea, which is not true. CENTCOM says. But obviously, Sean, it highlights the strain that's been on the military here as we have had all these deployments. And of course, Donald Trump has won military votes in all of his elections. I think he has been, as a rule, beloved by the military, and particularly in kind of the DEI stuff he's ended and his focus on things. But there's increasing kind of chirping here of frustration. You're obviously, it's a little bit of a tough issue because you do serve. And so, but just high level thoughts here as we head into November.
Yeah. So 2 quick little disclaimers. Nothing that I say, everything I say is mine and mine alone, not that of the Department of War, the Department of the Navy, and it's all based on open source materials. So a couple things. One, this issue has been boiling. Like, it just came into the mainstream media the last few days. It's been bubbling up for quite some time. And when you start having an at-sea deployment for that long, it starts, you cross the 100-day mark. So normally, just some context. First of all, the last battle group was out there almost a record. So this is, we're now taxing it. And I know that the Lincoln's getting the brunt of the media exposure, but it's an entire battle group. So, each ship might be a little different in terms of when it joined. So you might have 200 days, but look, when you're at sea, generally somewhere around the 45-day mark, 30 to 60, you're doing a port visit, you get off, you get some liberty, you get to see something, put your foot on the ground. When you're at sea, and again, I'm only speaking from previous experience in open source materials, you generally don't have Wi-Fi. Now, again, I can't speak to the Lincoln and what they've done or not done, and I wouldn't. But generally speaking, you don't have it. So think about this. You don't have any, especially if you're an enlisted sailor, you're sitting in a bunk room, 10, 20, 30 people with your rack. And so you're not communicating with anyone. You're not seeing much from the outside world. You're not getting updates. You've got resupplies that come in, once in a while and get you your mail or whatever. There's also concerns about, as you mentioned, plumbing and then other toiletry type items that generally would come in that, when you're in a war zone, it's not as easy. You can't just do an unrep the way that you normally would at sea. I've done those. Like, when you're out there, it's a serious operation. You pull up alongside, they send stuff back and forth. And there is a massive mental health issue. I mean, again, think about, junior officers in a stateroom with probably on a carrier 4 people. And so, like, there's not a ton to do. There's a few gyms. You get some movies and stuff in your rooms on the AFN feed. It is a very tough thing. And that's what we're hitting a serious milestone. Now, there is the USS George Washington, according to open source materials, is inbound. But this is a big deal. And to your point about the politics of this, each side has constituencies that they do well with. Like, you guys do great with, like, academics and hoity-toity people in Hollywood. We have law enforcement in the military. And when you're not seen as supporting the team that's on your side, that hurts. And again, perception. I don't know anyone on the Lincoln right now. I've not talked to anyone on the Lincoln, but it doesn't matter. The politics are the perception, and the perception right now is things are not being addressed. That's a problem that needs to be taken care of. And the idea that they're behind the curve on this power, like it doesn't look good. And when you go out there and say, oh, it's not that bad. Again, here's the one thing. With a full air crew, you're talking about 5,000 plus, right? They're going to come home. They're going to talk. And that's going to happen before the election. So when you go out and appear to not fully, again, there's stuff that happens on a deployment, especially this long. That's the reality of it. So acknowledge it, work with them. But the last thing you want is 5,000 sailors getting off a ship and saying publicly, like, this was horrible. We didn't get the supplies and the support we needed. Like, get ahead of this right now.
Well, and when you have a base that doesn't love this war to begin with, and you have and I know it's the Navy, but you have big military presences in North Carolina, Georgia, Texas.
Well, hold on, you got Jen Kiggins in Virginia too, Rob Whitman in the first. Kiggins was running against Elaine Luria, former Navy vet herself. I mean, like, yes, that issue's playing big on Wavy down there, WAV. I mean, like, so it's a big deal. All right. Well, let's try to salvage some fun talk.
Winners, losers.
I want to start with losers because I want to end on a winner.
Okay. All right.
So good. Give me your loser.
Sure. So my loser, he was my winner last week, but he is my loser this week. Abdul El Said, folks, he has some problems. I mean, we're laughing a little bit, but he is clearly behind slightly. The good news is those are voters that you have a chance to bring back. Here's the problem, Sean. He was so cocky at the end of that campaign that I think he thought that because he was going to win by so much, the middle of the Democratic Party was going to have to come to him, right? Come to the king. He now badly needs those people, and they are resistant right now. Haley Stevens has not come on board. When you think of moderate surrogates that could help you, even just getting on TV in Michigan and doing things to try to generate like the water is safe to be with this guy, they're all hesitant because he rubbed his his finger in their face the last couple of weeks of that campaign. Abdullah Saeed's got some work to do, and I am very curious to see if he can do this, but he's in a little bit of trouble.
There's very few times in politics where a new candidate can get the name ID, and not in a good way, that he does. Like right now, if you walk down the street and said El Said, I think 60% of people would know who the heck you're talking about. That's not normal, and it's not in a good way. And that's why there's a story out this morning that says Republicans are paying renewed attention to Minnesota. Peggy Flanagan, the lieutenant governor, Tim Walz, the Democratic Senate nominee, Michelle Tafoya, very popular broadcaster. And they're trying to figure out, can they tie Flanagan to El Said again? Just not that wouldn't have been a normal strategy a year or two ago. I was going to do the layup. We already talked about it, so I'm not going to give it to the Southern Poverty Law Center, although they deserve it. In fact, I'm going to give it to someone who we haven't talked about ever, I don't think. Maura Healey, the governor of Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah.
Signed a bill this week that allows abortion up to pregnancy. I don't care how pro-choice, quote unquote, you are. The idea that this is being celebrated is frankly abhorrent and disgusting. I think I watched this press conference that she did, people just sitting behind her clapping. This has taken things to a whole new level that I am, like I said, I'm appalled by. And for that reason, Maura Healey in the Massachusetts legislature to me is it's probably my loser of the year right now. So.
Is it in case of like medical help or just
so the law basically puts entire discretion on the doctor and saying the doctor can do whatever they want up until literally pregnancy. And as you know, and I know, it's like buying weed. You go out, you can find some doctor that says you have a mental health issue. You go down any street in DC and there's like 18 doctors that will write you a prescription. You can now doctor shop this. And that's what's unfortunate is, again, regardless of where you are on the spectrum, I think there's a lot of people. I got stopped yesterday by a very pro-choice Republican who said to me, literally, where I stand on this issue. I've never been with you on it, but I'm appalled. And I think this is where, Massachusetts doesn't get the attention that it deserves on how nuts it is, because there's a lot of other nuttiness. All right. Who do you have as your winner?
All right. We're not going to name any names of people who are on the other side of this, but let's bring up an element here. My friends at the DCCC, no names. Somebody was saying, God, what are they doing putting all these districts up on their red to blue program? One of the districts that was named was Elise Stefanik's, New York 21. Ladies and gentlemen, a poll out this morning. The Democrat leads in New York 21. Don't know if that will end up, coming to fruition. But there was a reason the DCCC put some of those districts up that seemed like they were a little crazy. Not sure they will be. So my friends at the DCCC, they are my winner.
Well, thank God that
no name, Sean. I'm not saying who is.
I'm just saying thank God for Kathy Hochul, because the top of the ticket's not doing as well as it should, as we mentioned. All right, I've got an odd winner this week. My winner is the incoming freshman class at the University of Michigan.
Okay.
They will no longer have to get grades for mental health purposes. Your first semester is just pass fail, which I immediately thought I would have still be a Japanese language major if I could have just gotten pass fail, because I think I could have pulled off the pass. But they are doing it for mental health reasons, because little Johnny and Susie can't handle getting a D. So let's continue to coddle them, even with grade inflation. So congratulations to the incoming class of Michigan. Dan, what are you watching for this weekend?
All right, I am actually watching. We talked a little bit about this earlier. At what point does Donald Trump try to really change the discussion and introduce something new into the political bloodstream to try to start shifting momentum? We're getting close. He pays very close attention to this stuff. I just can't imagine he's going to spend the next couple of weeks quietly playing golf. What is he going to do? Because he's pretty good at this to try to give his team a fighting chance.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would have said looking for a press secretary announcement, but I don't think we're there. So here's what I'm watching for. Tonight is the first home game for the Indiana Fever since this whole Sophie Clark saga and transgender. The WNBA commissioner last night coming out with a statement saying something to the effect of like, we're going to continue, but our eligibility rules haven't changed and people are mocking them. And I'm like, yeah, they're mocking them because they're ridiculous. So tonight is the first time that Sophie Cunningham will play a home game in Indiana. I think she's going to get I am predicting a very, very supportive group of folks will be there.
Okay. All right.
I may or may not know some things, but
okay. All right. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Good.
Let's take a few questions.
Yeah, look at that. We have so much time left. All right. Alex Washington, U1Z. I've learned name ID is king. Hassan Piker is a Twitch streamer who most don't know. Bad strategy to attack him all day. Don't think I've seen one Turek attack. Ossoff, Peltola, Cooper, Brown are coasting. It's an interesting thing. We didn't talk about it. Hassan Piker profiled in the Wall Street Journal this week. This is like Democrats talking about Nick Fuentes and others. Look, you're trying to create a narrative. Piker, Abdul El-Sayed, some of these socialists, Mandani, again, we may be bad, but they're worse. But I do agree that do most people, sit there and say, I'm not going to cast a vote because of this guy, Hassan Piker. It's not working.
This is kind of like my Jay Jones thing. It's like Jay Jones actually said it. Like, I want to do this. We had it in writing. And so I think the bank shot play, which is like this guy hung out with that guy. If that's like, yes, it's not good. Should you use it? But I think this is what you're leaning into, Alex. It's like, if your kill shot is a bank shot, which is, I hope that people know that he hung out with a guy that's a scumbag, isn't exactly the winning argument. And I think, so it's not a bad thing to remind people, but remember, you have to double sell them. So El-Sayed's bad because this guy, Hassan Piker, that you may not have heard, said some bad things. So it's like you're having to sell people on the first guy to remind you how bad the second guy is. I fully agree with you. And I think if you like this whole idea of we have not had any real hits on Ossoff, Peltola, Cooper, Brown. Yes, locally. But I got to tell you, I talked to a lot of the consultants and the hits are pretty lame. Yeah. It's old school. We're playing checkers in a game of chess. It's like they're too liberal. And right now people don't care. They're willing to give up a lot if you're the outsider.
Cooper and Brown also are career politicians with super long track records. And it is amazing in this era of, that they're coasting. But all right. Next one.
Let's get another.
Let's see. Candace Goodman, 1030. Is it fair for Democrats to demand that progressives unite behind establishment candidates when establishment Democrats aren't always willing to unite behind progressive candidates who win? It is a great question. I know this is, being asked. Look, I agree with you. It is the moderate wing, and this goes to Abdul El-Sayed. I think he thought this was going to be his argument. Like, folks, come on, I won big. It is going to be an issue because if Abdul El-Sayed comes up, let's say 2 points short, and 20% of Democrats, the Clinton wing, let's say, votes for Rogers, oh boy, are you going to hear about this heading into 2028. You cost us the election, not Bernie Sanders costing Hillary Clinton,
Remember, though, we went through this in 2016, all the people who were trying to claim they were sitting out, and then Trump won. And slowly they sort of realized how big the movement was. But both parties deal with this in different ways. But in different times, rather, I should say. Similarly, but in different times.
Good
we got
question.
Another one?
Yep. Let's see. Republican lady, question, is Melania Trump keep a low profile because there is heightened concern for her safety from the Iranians? Barron too. Good question.
She has never been one to really seek the spotlight. She picks and chooses her moments. Barron has always been very protected. I know he's technically, a legal adult now. So, but they've just never. She has been very strategic with picking her moments, and I think it's even more so now that she's comfortable in understanding the role and what the president's role. I mean, like first time, I think people are telling you, you must do this. You have to show up at this event. You have to have this. And I think she has had a lot of time to reflect on what she wants to do or not do and how she wants to be portrayed. She seems to be, and also just, she has a husband that wants to be in the spotlight every day. And I think it's like, great, good for you.
That's why they work well together. Yep.
All
right. Sean, what do you have coming up tonight? Friday night?
Friday night, we got two fun things. So one, Brent Buchanan from Signal's got the latest polling.
Yeah,
got their national survey comes out, both in terms of head-to-head and issues. And then I leaned into that for my winner, Jennifer Say. She is a former national champion gymnast. She was a senior executive at Levi's that got pushed out because she spoke her mind about women's gymnastics and all the stuff going on there and speaking up for women. She's now the founder of XXXY Athletics. She's going to join us tonight because she is going to the game tonight, Dan. She will be at the Indiana Fever game. She has become a very big supporter of Sophie Cunningham. And so I'm excited because she's going to be heading to the game in Indiana for the first time.
Okay.
She's gone to a bunch of the away games. So, Oh, I forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
What do you got going on this weekend?
Just we're going to hang out with our family. My in-laws are here. They go back to Philadelphia tomorrow. So I'm going to play golf with my father-in-law this afternoon and just spend time with everybody.
All right. Well,
Dave
look,
leaves for school 2 weeks.
I don't know if you, I forgot to give you a heads up on this. So my bad. But I've got to help get the kids ready for school, get packed out here. So I think it's easier. Why don't we take a week, reset, and then we'll come back. So next week, guys.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Gosh.
Yeah. So just if that works for you, I'll let Rachel know, but I need to get the kids ready for school and get this place all packed up. I got a lot of cleaning. The grill got to get the grill scrubbed, all that stuff. So
no, that's right. And
why don't I see you in a week?
And so I like it just so everyone knows, we are a lean operation. Obviously, it is us that gets up every morning and determines what we're going to talk about. Along with Rachel, we have two wonderful people, Katie Armstrong, who helps us all the time and is also, juggling 15 other things, and then a small production company that helps us. But everyone needs a break, periodically, and this is a time before kids go back to school and everything. So we it'll be a better product in the long run if we're all tan rested and ready. So, Sean, enjoy your time off there. Enjoy the time with the kids. To the audience, enjoy everything. And we will be back a week from Monday. Wait for that Senate meter. May have some changes on it on that Thursday. And have a great weekend, everybody.
Yeah, by the way, I'll be doing the show. And I've got a really cool, I was down with Aaron Elmore Scavino. Like, there's some really cool stuff I have next week on the show. I know I won't be able to talk about it, but just tune in because there's some cool stuff that, we got going on. So have a great week.